Yo, what's going on, Game Changers? We appreciate you tuning in with us today. We are live in the studio right here in Omaha, Nebraska. And we're going to have some really great discussion today because we're going to be sounding off on a few things. And I can't wait to go in on that. But for those of you tuning in, hey, again, happy Friday. Hope you guys are enjoying your day wherever you're watching or listening in from. I'm with my guy, Matt. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's been real fun the last few weeks, man. Staying busy and
Boy, has it ever been busy.
I mean, we should enlighten the people on what has been up, man. We've been
no doubt
super busy. We've got something lined up where we're going to be speaking out in Houston, Texas at an event. So we're excited about that. We've got a big guest coming on next week who's been on the show before, but we're going to have him back next week. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then, man, this bipolar weather that's been going on in Omaha, man, has been insane. I mean, you guys watching, I guess we're in the middle of the country for a reason, man. We don't know if we're supposed to be East Coast, West Coast, South, North, wherever, but we're like this state and city in Omaha here in Omaha, Nebraska, that is like all 4 seasons in a day, man.
It's true.
I mean, you could have a blizzard, a tornado, 70 degrees and everything, 80 degrees even. Yeah. And then it's like freezing the day before and it's all within 24 hours, man.
I know. And for a while we were hitting this weird streak where every Wednesday there would be a sudden snowstorm in the evening or the afternoon. And it's just been very, very bizarre. But I guess that is par for the course when you live in the Midwest. You're between 2 mountain ranges.
100%. So. Yeah. Well, I want to encourage everybody too. If you are not following us on our pages, please like, comment, subscribe. You can go to Instagram, Primetime Gamechangers. Same with Facebook, YouTube, wherever it is that you like to, follow, watch podcasts and different things like that. Want to just let you all know about our shop as well. I mean, it is booming. I mean, Anthony, I think we are really excited that we were able to kind of launch the merch on the website so then people could just go ahead and get that wherever they want. If you go to primetimegamechangers.com and hit the tab shop, it's right there. Or you could honestly just go to nice sound effect. You could go to store.primetimegamechangers.com as well. That's even easier instead of going to the actual Game Changers website and hitting the tab. I mean, you could do it either way, but we have more merch that we're even going to be putting out there. We're also going to do some different redesigned filters and stuff with the website. So then you can filter it by like female and then do like tops or bottoms or hats or jackets, whatever. And so really just make it easy so that it's broken down specifically to what you're shopping for. Exactly. And we want that easy for our people. And we have some other stuff in the work for kiddos as well. So onesies for babies all the way up to like shirts that say like we're looking at junior game changer up for those, little grade school, elementary and junior high game changers. Pet stuff is in the works. Females, we've got a pair of leggings that are getting ready to come out for you guys as well as earrings for the ladies. So we are thinking big time, man, on all this stuff.
A lot of stuff coming. So just make sure you guys stay tuned. If you're not following us on our channels, you can check us out. Primetime Game Changers on Instagram, Primetime Game Changers YouTube channel. Also, we're on Prey TV.
Yes.
So if you want to check us out on the Prey.com app, be sure to subscribe there. We love those guys. We want to give a shout out to Matt and Robbie and man, all the whole crew out there. We just really appreciate
They're the
them. And
best.
Aaron, Ricky, I mean, it goes on for days, but those guys are amazing.
Yes.
They're doing awesome things. And the community that they've built online for believers or people who are curious about God to connect with other like-minded believers and hear the gospel through various voices. And for us to be on it is just an honor. So pray.com, check us out. And we're streaming right now live, like we said. So, feel free to drop us a comment on one of the channels. We're on Primetime Gamechangers YouTube. I think we're also streaming on your Instagram too, right, Matt?
Yeah, not today.
Not today.
I'm gonna take a little break on that today because I want to tease the Instagram a little bit.
Fair enough.
Because next week we've got a massive guest and one of my good buddies that's going to be on the show. So let's talk about that.
Let's do it.
We have next week, and I'm super stoked about this. Wish we had like a drum roll, but I didn't cue you guys like a drum roll sound effect. So maybe we can hit the chair here. But next week we have two-time World Series champion and great friend of mine, Blake Trinan, Dodgers pitcher. And
you can hear the clap.
There we go. We got the clap. There we
applause.
go. So we're excited for him to be on. He was with us last year, but he is back. And what's really cool about this episode, this will be live same time as today, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. He was texting with me this morning. They're actually out in Philadelphia getting ready to play the Phillies this evening. But tonight, that's tonight. But next week, okay, this is the kicker. And really cool thing here. They actually play the Chicago Cubs in LA next week. Now, for anyone that doesn't know this, I am a Chicago Cubs baseball fan. But Blake's one of my good buddies. So, we're going to have to like troll him next week. And I'm probably going to wear a Cubs jacket and then like have the Blake Trinan jersey hanging back here that he signed for both of us. And so if many of you don't know, he was massive in the World Series, ended up getting two of the wins because you got to win 4 games to be World Series champ, and he was the winning pitcher in 2 of those games. And I mean, went nuts, struck out Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo. Just the amount of movement in his pitches was just nasty, man. So I can't wait for him to be on. He's hilarious too, and we were actually going back and forth talking about trucks and stuff, and having a little bro down with some of because he's a trucker like I am. So it was kind of a cool little banter between us, but he's excited. And I've specifically told him that I hope the Cubs hit a bomb every single at bat unless he's on the mound. So, they will be literally, it's so cool, man, that legitimately he's going to be on our show that morning. It'll be like 9:30 his time out in LA. And then that night there's a chance he may be on the mound against the Cubs that night.
That's
so
awesome.
like on game day, Blake Trinan will be on our show.
Yeah, he's just a stand-up guy, and on top of that, he's an on-fire believer who made a legitimate stand.
Yes.
During 2021, 2022, which is
right around the pandemic and all that, riots, everything.
A lot of the DEI woke stuff that was even infiltrating the MLB. Even his team a little bit. He started to be a real big voice, not just for the Dodgers, like his teammates in the locker room, but also just in the community. A voice for believers. And so we just love him, man. He's a stand-up guy. It's gonna be great. Make sure you guys tune in on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And he's a 2018 All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, just got a second ring. He did tell me he's planning to wear his ring on the show. He wants to show the world. So we're gonna have him all
the bling.
He said he's gonna show that. So it was really cool, and we'll make sure we can talk about some of that stuff and show some pictures and things of that moment. And what's cool is their home opener too. He actually got the save in that game, so he ended up coming in, closing the game out. And they played the Detroit Tigers. This was last week, and came in and just K'd 2 people, struck out 2 batters, and just won the game for the Dodgers. So
what we should have him do is tell his story, because a lot of people don't know some of the behind the scenes like injury stuff and rehab he was battling through. And we had an opportunity to pray for him, and the Lord said some things, and then it was just like boom.
And what's crazy is when they won that World Series last year, he was in a contract year and just got it renewed. So he got another 2-year contract renewed, and basically just signed an extension with the Dodgers, and they wanted him back, and it was just incredible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's one of the only guys on that organization too with 2 rings too. So, I mean, it's
Wow.
incredible. So, and then a 2018 All-Star, but I mean, it's crazy, man. He was throwing like I was watching it with my dad the other night, and like he was throwing 98, 99, just straight heat. And then like his off-speed pitch was still reaching like close to 90, but with insane movement, man. Like, how do you hit that? Insane, like hitting people inside corner, like yeah, it's
It's next
wicked.
level
It's
considering
wicked
his
movement,
journey,
man.
Yeah.
They've been talking about it, man, that there's like so much movement in his pitches, like it's like nothing people have seen before. And like
Love it.
yeah, it's really cool. So we're excited next week. That'll be live, and that will be on my Instagram for sure. So sorry for the Instagrammers out there that have to wait on that, but we are excited for Blake Trinan next week. And that guy is a legendary pitcher. So yeah, tune in, tell your friends about it. And again, it will be on game day. They play the Chicago Cubs that night, who happens to be my favorite baseball team. So it's kind of cool.
No doubt, man.
But we've got a pretty cool subject today. So can we tell the audience like what it is that's on our mind, man? And I know you are fired
I
up
can't
about
wait.
this
I
too.
love this.
So
I love when institutions and structures that were perceivably for the people or were actually not for the people, and they begin to be exposed and dismantled. So that's what we're talking about today. One of those institutions that has been getting headlines a ton, which deservedly so, for the wickedness that they have been operating in under the guise of education, is we're going to be sounding off on the Department of Education today, because there's been some major headlines coming across about how President Trump is already in the works of dismantling the Department of Education. All it needs is a congressional vote for approval to pass that through. But we want to get into the history of the Department of Education, why the dismantling of the Department of Education is a good thing, because there's a lot of people out there being like, I can't believe he's doing this. Education matters. Well, no, duh, you idiots. Of course education matters. But what is the education? Because indoctrination is not education.
100%.
And we also have to talk about the money trail. You always follow the money. So we're going to actually take a deep dive into the funding of the Department of Education, where that money flows to, where it has been flowing to, and what the Biden shadow government administration was trying to set up in 2024 and beyond. And thank God that President Trump was voted in, because, guys, what they were trying to set up was literally going to be towards the expansion of Planned Parenthood and all of these weird, woke DEI initiatives that would just further push the sexualization of children, transgender mutilation, which they call, I think they call it healthcare services, which is ridiculous. And then also just indoctrination of students at every single level, primary school, secondary school, at your collegiate level. They were ready to just go in and do a complete overhaul. And we want to expose that, and we want to explain as well God's redemptive plan and how this is going to be a good thing.
I agree. And, again, it's important to understand, like I mentioned, you know, education is not a bad thing as long as the education is fitting the narrative that of what they should be being taught. We talked about this, like with, remember when you used to just go to school and like you would hear about math and science and health and etc., right? English, all of that stuff. It seems now like, man, they've transformed, health and science into something completely different now that is like gender ideologies and, weird, like bringing in, drag queens now. And it's like, we're not even having school anymore. This is not class. We're getting rid of religion and getting rid of prayer in schools. And it's like, what are these kids being taught? No, it's not even that they're being educated. They're being legitimately brainwashed. And now the parents have no say. And it's like, if you're a parent that wants to stand up for your kid, it's like you're legitimately getting in trouble in certain cities and states, man, for even standing up to school boards, etc. It's like they're cracking down on you. And it's like, Trump's like, oh, okay, no, we've had enough of this. Like, parents get to have a say on what they're going to do. So, well, guess what? We're going to leave it up to the states.
Yes, and that's another piece that we want to expose is because so many people have been duped into believing that big government and government agencies are your answer. It's your solution. Well, if you don't know what to do with this particular issue that deals with your family or your children, then let's bring it back to the federal government for them to create an agency and for them to solve it for us. Guys, that's not how America was established, and that's not how the founding fathers wanted America to run. They wanted it to be about we the people. Private matters regarding family, regarding education, it is a private matter, regarding healthcare, regarding all of these different aspects that affect you on an individual daily basis, that should be left up to you. And at the highest level possible, it should be left up to the states to help regulate that. When you get the federal government involved in daily affairs, you start to run into all kinds of issues, namely things where people sit that are completely detached and removed from anything that could possibly even represent your own interests, your own needs, or the issues that you're facing. They come up and sit around with all of these random ideas that are not so random. They're actually funded by lobbyists to push certain agendas through. So they say, hey, this is a great idea, but then there are no consequences that they have to face if that agenda goes sideways. Enter the Department of Education.
Yep.
There have been a lot of intentional and unintentional consequences that have affected our children, that have affected the way that education works. It's effectively also boxed out the parents from having any kind of say in what happens in these schools and these classrooms. And so now we're having to deal with the fallout of that, which in my opinion is a nation that is struggling academically, a nation that is struggling to think critically and for themselves, a nation that is dealing now with an entire generation that has been completely indoctrinated. So now you're having to help rewire the way people think, renew their minds, and bring them back into a place of thinking for self. And on top of that, we've had a complete mismanagement and misappropriation of taxpayer revenue. So you've had the government literally stealing money from you as a taxpayer to fund ridiculous agendas and government practices that have nothing to do with, like you said, education.
Yeah. And I mean, that's my big thing. I want them in the back to put up this article because I want to read this here if they can put this up. But I agree with you, man. It's crazy, in the brainwashing that's been going on.
There it is. Brainwashing is a good word.
100%, because it's not even education in some places. It's straight up brainwashing. It's legitimately taking parenthood and creating its own narrative now in the schools. Instead of it being up to the parents, it's legitimately like teachers saying, and school boards and those that are involved within the education system saying, we're going to take this into our own hands, and parents, you don't get a say.
You don't have, we got it. Like,
you know what I mean?
We got it. You guys don't have to say anything. Don't say anything.
So, I mean, dude, you mentioned it, even this too. When it started to go downhill was when they removed prayer in schools, some places the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the 10 Commandments. And notice at that point, when all that started to happen, it went downhill.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about it is the fact that when you look at the Department of Education, okay, the job though is to educate the children, not to brainwash them. What sense are we getting? I mean, I understand when we had we had health classes that talked about, your body, and it talked about, sometimes it got into the sexual thing and stuff like that, but it was never to the point where it was beyond uncomfortable and them literally brainwashing you and trying to make it provocative. You get what I'm saying?
But even
it was never that.
But even with that, why were they allowed to teach us that?
You're saying when we were in school?
Yeah. As a
I
parent,
agree.
I'm like,
100%.
No, I'd rather teach my own kid.
What I'm saying, it's gotten beyond that now.
Oh yeah, it's way beyond it.
I remember when it was just okay, they kind of just had the discussion about your body's anatomy and all of that stuff, right? Just how your body's made and white blood cells and chromosomes and all of that,
Yeah,
right?
sure, yeah.
Okay. So they discussed all that stuff, and then they talked about some of those things. But then I remember in like 4th and 5th grade, people walking around saying like, oh, like, look up sex in the dictionary, telling peers and all that stuff, look this up in the dictionary. Do you see what this says? And then it's like, legitimately, like, there were some teachers that are like, hey, you need to go talk to your parents about this stuff, like telling students that, like, you don't talk about that here. And other teachers are like, oh, if you want to have that discussion, let's have that
You're
discussion.
right.
I remember being in school seeing like the shift already starting to happen, but like at that age, you don't understand it.
You don't, and that's the
Now I'm like,
problem.
oh my God, it
And
was happening in our generation.
and that's the problem. Kids are getting introduced to things
Yes.
that they have no business being introduced to at that age because they're not gonna understand that. But that's the perfect time that
Yeah.
these sickos think it's
Yeah.
okay to start teaching them that, because then they can
Yeah.
shape their perspective and their mindset regarding that particular topic, like their gender,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is not or like their like sexuality, and reproduction, which none of those things really need to be addressed to a first grader or a third grader. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why can't you just teach them basic things like counting 2 plus 2,
Mm-hmm.
how to think critically? Why are we going into this weird space of talking about attraction and sexual behaviors? There's no
Yeah.
place for that.
Yeah.
And so what you were talking about,
Yeah,
Matt,
that
is
article I mentioned too,
yeah,
that I want them to show this
yeah, show that
because
article.
this is so check this out. Okay, Trump education pick clear Senate committee, but like what's crazy about this, guys, is the fact that President Trump is legitimately on board with this. Like he's like, I'm done. Like we're not dealing with this anymore. We're gonna start teaching basic math. I'm gonna pull this up too on my phone so that you guys can see this because here's the thing. I think why this is good is um it's eliminating the Department of Education, but it's getting it back to what it's supposed to be doing in the first place.
Right.
Okay? And so in this it says in quote um okay, this is Education Secretary Linda McMahon. She says to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Education Department based on the maximum extent appropriate and permitted by law. The experiment of controlling American education through federal programs and dollars and the uncountable bureaucrats those programs and dollars support has failed our children, our teachers, and our families. Okay, so shortly after taking position, McMahon said she would send education back to the states. Trump has long talked about dismantling the Department of Education, saying it has failed American students. 100% agree. It's a big con job, President Trump said in November. They ranked the top countries. Now, this part's interesting to me. They ranked the top countries in the world. We're ranked 40th, but we're ranked number 1 in department cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any country in the world, but we're ranked number 40.
Ouch.
Sounds like we need to change up the education system of what we're teaching, correct?
Well, or that it's never been about education and it's
Yeah,
about
that's my
making
point.
money.
Exactly. So, in the letter to Democratic members of the Senate Committee of Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, McMahon said that she'd wholeheartedly agreed with Trump's plan to abolish the department. With around 4,500 employees, the department is the smallest cabinet level agency. The Wall Street Journal reported that. It is currently offering an incentive up to $25,000 to the majority of its staff to resign or retire. Check that out.
Good.
Yeah.
Get
I
them out of
mean,
there.
and so President Trump believes that the bureaucracy in Washington should be abolished so that we can return education to the states where it belongs. And McMahon said she wholeheartedly supports and agrees with this mission. Under McMahon, the department will work from 3 base convictions, according to her letter, that parents are the primary decision makers in their children's education. The taxpayer funded education should refocus on meaningful learning, such as, oh, we just said this, math, reading, science, and history, like the proper science, by the way.
And the proper history.
Yes, not divisive DEI programs and gender ideology, and that post-secondary education should be a path to well-paying, career-aligned, and workforce needs. Man, that's the other thing that we got to talk about is the taxpayer dollars that are funding this. my hardworking money as an American is funding garbage.
Yes, sir.
Let that sink into the viewers. Your hard-earned taxpayer dollars are funding absolute garbage. And we got to put our foot down.
I got a stat on that.
Yeah,
You want to see
please.
it? Can you guys pull up the president's budget for fiscal year 2024? So this is under the shadow government of Biden. Just slide 1, if you can pull it. Oh, you got it? Yeah, go ahead and show it. So this, folks, was presented in 2023 for the fiscal year 2024. So March 9th, 2023. So under Biden and the shadow government, you guys can go to slide 2. It says that the Biden administration proposed allocating $90 billion in new discretionary budget authority for the Department of Education towards public education. I'm sorry, $90 billion in discretionary
Yeah.
spending. What for? What are we
It's
allocating
terrible.
$90 billion for if we don't even have a rhyme or reason? We can't even
Yeah.
come up like these were the worst liars of all time.
I
Like, if
agree.
you're gonna lie about something, can you at least come up with a official title for it? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna dedicate this towards just getting more textbooks. Oh, well, at least if you're lying, people can believe it. But you don't even
Yeah.
care. You're just like, we're gonna allocate $90 billion of your taxpayer money to whatever the heck we want to do. So do you guys want to know where they spent that $90 billion? Yeah, of course you want to know. So can we go down to slide 7, please? Because I found out a new term today, Matthew. Have you ever heard of the term called full service community schools?
Lighten the audience on it.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to enlighten you. I think I have an actual whatchamacallit, I have a definition. Here it is. Full service community school. These are hubs that integrate academic programs with essential services, like here's all your favorite DEI buzzwords: healthcare, social services, and family engagement to support students and families, aiming to address a broader range of needs than traditional schools. Here's the layman's terms. They allocated $368 million according to that budget. This is in the 2024 presidential budget for the shadow
Man, and
government.
an additional 121 million for
$368 million
wow.
to fund these new
Wow.
schools, which essentially is Planned Parenthood 2.0.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you mean? Well, can you pull up that audio clip? Because I want to show you what these full service community schools are really about,
This
and
is
this
wild.
$368 million that they're going to spend. Yeah, let's roll it. Go ahead.
Children in elementary schools. In the 2024 budget request by the Department of Education, $368 million are included to expand the creation of full-service schools, a concept that integrates medical care and related activities in public schools to reach underserved communities. But the program, which supports the creation of over 350 new schools, allows and possibly promotes partnering with abortion service providers to reach minors. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, a doctor and the ranking member of the Senate Health Committee, tells EWTN News Nightly.
All right, that's perfect. So did you guys catch that? So they're creating these full service community schools to cater to the underserved in their communities by introducing abortion care services to children. What? This is your money being used by the Department of Education to create schools that are basically Planned Parenthood 2.0 centers, where you send your kid to this full service community school to learn all things about reproductive health, abortion rights, and literally learning how abortion works. Basically, these are shell companies. It's serving as a front to basically set up other abortion care centers. But now you're exposing your children to all of these woke DEI policies. That is 368 million of the 90 billion that they were saying they wanted to use for discretionary usage under the Department of Education. Folks, had President Trump not been elected, this is what we would have been dealing with starting this year. They would have been constructing schools in your community that were focused on indoctrinating children about the benefits of abortion, which, hey, here's a hint on that. There's no benefit to abortion, right? Because if you continue this process of abortion, you don't need schools. Why? Because all the children will be aborted. It's crazy to me that a government agency that has been built for the establishing the security and future and success of a generation is literally at the same time funding it to eliminate said generation. That's your Department of Education. That's why there's such a fight and such a determination by your president. I don't care if you say not my president. This is your president who actually wants to preserve your children, who wants to ensure that your kindergartner, your first grader, your sixth grader, your middle schooler, your high school student, your kids actually get an education and aren't being indoctrinated about getting rid of the next generation, or better yet, placing no value on themselves because they realize, hey, if abortion matters, then why do I matter? That's what the message of Department of Education is sending.
Well, and here's the thing. This is why they've gone after President Trump. You know, my brother and I were having a conversation about this. Okay, what does the deep state and all of the liberals want? They want wars.
Yes.
They want controversy. They want absolute chaos, whether it is a war, whether it's the Department of Education, whether it's the pandemic that happened years ago. They want chaos because what does chaos do? It creates ways to funnel money, and it's a money maker.
Yes.
Okay. This is why they want war, which is why I believe in many ways 9/11 even happened. It gave us an excuse to go into Iraq because what does war do? It funds. That's why. And Trump doesn't want war.
No.
So they hate Trump because that's saying, oh, well, then how do we get our money in and out of the country illegally and underground? My brother and I have had this conversation.
You're hitting something, though. That's
the same thing with the Department of Education. By Trump dismantling this or rebranding this, it gets rid of their ability to brainwash the future. Okay. And what does that do? If we can brainwash the future, now we have control over the future.
Dude.
Yes. And if we have control over the future, it's the same reason they want the border open. Because if we can open the border and control those people coming in, give them a roof over the head, money, free education, all of this, and just say, vote here, we're winning. They're saying we're winning at that point, right?
Okay. So to that point,
yes, break the rules, twist the rules, etc. And then
I'm sure there's a lot of people saying, oh, Anthony, Matt, you guys are tinfoil hat wearers. You guys are conspiracy theorists, blah, blah, blah.
I don't care. Let's talk facts here.
Just do this real quick. Do a quick Google search. All you have to say is, all you have to type out is teachers charged for abusing students.
Yep.
And just scroll, and you will see endless numbers of headlines of high school teachers, gym teachers, elementary school teachers, professors, people getting in trouble for sexually abusing minors, their students. Guys, the Department of Education has willfully basically tolerated a sexualized environment in the classroom to the point now where you have teachers that are continuously getting arrested, charged, and investigated for sexual abuse of minors. I'm not lying. You can see it scrolling right down there. There are quite a few articles that date back all the way to, I guess, if you want to go back to the 1980s, probably. But if you look at just the recent last 4 years, there has been a major crackdown on all of the sexual abuse and allegations that have been going on. That's why they don't want parents involved in parent-teacher conferences. That's why they don't want parents involved in the Board of Education. Why? So they can keep this stupid sex trafficking a ring going. And you're like, oh, that's too harsh. Okay, here's another thing. We're going to go back to the history of the Department of Education being created. 1962, 1963, Engel versus Vitale. This was a landmark ruling by the Supreme Court that determined that school-sponsored prayer is unconstitutional. This was June 1962. Okay, 1979, 1980. 1980, Stone versus Graham. The Supreme Court ruled in this law regarding this case in Kentucky that Kentucky law requiring the posting of the 10 Commandments in public school classrooms violated the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. Okay, so same year, 1980, Congress implements and passes legislation to establish the Department of Education under President Jimmy Carter. So, if the Department of Education was good, why would it be
Yeah.
established after we got rid of prayer and the 10 Commandments? I'll wait.
Such a good point.
Again,
Such a
if
good
the
point.
Department of Education was good and of God, why
Yeah.
would it replace the 10 Commandments and prayer in schools?
So good.
Furthermore, why would it be established under Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter was the 39th president of the United States. 39 is a big number when it comes to secret societies, so we'll just leave it right there. I don't want to go down that train today, but just saying, you can look it up for fun. But also, under Jimmy Carter, he did some amazing things, guys. He gave away the Panama Canal, normalized relations with communist China. Oh, and by the way, that same year and under 1980, the Department of Health and Human Services was created. Oh, that's coincidental. And guess what they started pushing? Child vaccinations. Now, whatever you want to believe about it, that's fine. But what we can say, though, as vaccinations have become more prevalent over the last few years, it starts to raise questions about the integrity of why they began pushing it so much.
Yeah.
And again, that's its own debate. My point in the matter is, you get rid of prayer, you get rid of 10 Commandments, then you establish Department of Education and Department of Health and Human Services. Weird. They both deal with children. I'm just going to leave that there. I just find that very interesting that that's happening. Now, you guys are like, well, what's so bad about President Jimmy Carter and what the things he was doing, aside from him giving away the Panama Canal? He was friends, Matt, check this out. He was friends with a gentleman by the name of Pierre Trudeau. Does that last name sound familiar, my folks in Canada? Yes, Pierre Trudeau was the father of Justin Trudeau. Here's what's important about that. Jimmy Carter worked with Pierre Trudeau to establish a socialist agenda for Canada that Canada is seeing the results of today. Matt, what do socialist states do? They keep those who are disenfranchised, those who are oppressed, they keep those people down. You try to keep people from moving up certain class ranks. Well, how do you do that? You take away their knowledge. I'm just saying,
I
man.
agree.
If
where it starts.
you're
right.
friends with somebody who is establishing a socialist regime, and you're also instituting the Department of Education right here in the United States, what does that say about that government agency and its intent and its agenda? Well, Anthony, we don't believe you. Okay, can you guys pull up the article where it has the statistics about the Department of Education and like the national education performance ratings? Okay, you got it. So it's a really long, boring table. This one is for I think it's the national education results for reading through 1996. So this is like 1971 through 1996, focusing on really like that range of like 1980 and on. But if you notice, it's broken down by ethnicity. So if you see under blacks, you see the numbers, they steadily go up, but then they kind of plateau. Hispanic, same thing, steadily go up. Oh, they highlighted everything. Under Hispanics, it steadily goes up, plateaus. But then we get to white. Guys, what up? Department of Education just not working out for you? Why are your numbers not increasing? Weird. What's going on? So we focus on black and Hispanics, but then the majority of the population in the US, we're just like, meh. Great job, Department of Education. Way to help out. Can you guys scroll down to the next slide? This one is on mathematics. Okay, look, under blacks, the number steadily goes up, then it kind of plateaus. Yep. These are the national average testing scores under mathematics. Okay, Hispanic, same thing, steadily goes up. Okay, that's cool. Okay, let's get to the white folks again. All of my light skinned friends. What the? We're not improving at all. Again, okay,
I wish we
okay,
had
okay.
ACT and SAT
But
scores too, man. You
okay,
know?
but here's the thing. All right, so the Black and Hispanics,
Wow.
obviously there is a disparity, so we see improvement. But why on the excelling race, you guys aren't improving? White people aren't improving. Why? They only want to keep you guys, and you guys, meaning all of us, they want to keep us at a certain intelligence level, a certain literacy rate, a certain knowledge rate. Why? It goes back to what you and Johnny have been
Yes,
talking
I'm
about.
telling you.
The more that they can keep us in the dark, the more they stay in power, the more they stay in control, and also the more we continue to be indoctrinated. That is not fair. And I'm speaking as a Black man. Like, listen, I get it with some of the inner city schools and the disparity, and I understand there needs to be changes. But if you already have an excelling group of people, why would you limit them from excelling even further unless you had an alternative agenda? Furthermore, if you look at the tuition rates since the Department of Education, they have gone astronomical. 1980 tuition rate was $736 a semester.
So
What is it now?
yeah.
30,000. So what they did to the affluent white people was, hey, we're only going to make college affordable for
Yeah.
those who have it. And those who have it, we're going to indoctrinate you. So your kids, even though they'll become business leaders, they'll become your entrepreneurs and your leading inventors. They're just going to regurgitate the stuff we tell them to do.
Yeah.
So nobody wins out of this scenario with the Department of Education the way they've been operating.
Yeah.
Nobody.
You know what's interesting? Let's talk about
I know
this
that
for
was a
instance.
lie.
No.
but-
You know what's interesting to that point? It's been not improving, but get this. You know, the NFL actually got rid of the Wanderlic test in 2022. They abolished it. It used to be part of the NFL combine of like, let's talk about a player and see how they do. It was like it's a problem solving and helps with
Yes.
the skill base.
Right.
Like if you are fit for this
Yep.
job, it's a test. Okay, it's a standardized test that most draft prospects would go through. I mean, and I know some businesses that have done this and used these tests, right? The NFL legitimately got rid of it in 2022. Notice the time frame, okay? And abolished it, completely abolished it. Now look at like, why would they need to abolish it? Well, NIL came out of nowhere, so now kids aren't staying in school anyways.
Oh, wow.
So,
Jeez, man.
you know, that's another thing. So now you can just
Great.
See, it used to be like you could be so skilled, but a team wouldn't want you if you were a mental case. Now it's like just be super skilled. If you're a mental case, we'll pay you to shut up.
That's
And
real.
legitimately. So like education has just gone downhill. I mean, Ryan, you're off to the side and you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to sports. The Wanderlic test is completely gone and completely gone. And so that used to be like something that really helped like to set the bar on the kind of guy you're bringing into your building.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they get rid of it? Why did because maybe there's a thing of like education
Yeah.
and it's the funding is all different now. Okay, where it's our taxpayer dollars are going to. So like
Yeah. We have
they
$90
know
billion unaccounted
they
for.
know at this point, like, let's cover it up. The NFL is covering it up.
Wow.
100%. Because why else would you not have that test? Wonder how many jobs in America even have that test anymore. You know what I mean? It's not even remotely used hardly as much as what it used to be. And like, I mean, legitimately in 2022 they got rid of it. This I don't know what year it started, but legitimately they got rid of this. And what's crazy about it to me is the fact that to just abolish the Wanderlic test. It's just a standardized assessment that this is what it says, a standardized assessment that measures the person's mental proficiency and problem-solving skills. It's used to evaluate job, training, and educational potential. That is exactly what it says. It also says hiring. Companies use the Wanderlic test to assess job applications potential.
Mm.
and the NFL completely got rid of it. Completely.
Wow.
Which shows you that it's all about money. Yeah, look at this.
It's all about money.
Look at this. Scroll down for the reason where it talks about purpose. Like, okay, it even says test content. Oh, what were we talking about earlier? Basic math, right? Test content on the Wonderlic, math, reasoning, vocabulary, general knowledge, abstract reasoning, deductive reasoning, and attention to detail are all part of this test. Why did the NFL need to get rid of it? Why?
They realize
Why are jobs getting rid of
they
it?
realize how bad the education system has been doing a
Legitimately.
service to people.
Why did they need to get rid of it? It's ridiculous. So
That's wild.
So let's
man.
talk about this now. Now let's talk about the brainiacs that are putting their foot down.
Yes.
This leads perfectly
'Cause
into
there
it.
is hope.
So there is hope. So they're like, so I know this was super passionate for you, so I'll let you kind of get into this.
No,
but
go ahead. Go ahead.
no, like legitimately, there are students that qualify for the Ivy League
Yeah.
that are legitimately like, you know, they're not your 3.9, 4.0 GPAs. These are your future Elon Musks.
They're off the scale. Yeah.
You know, which it's hilarious, by the way, that people on the left are so mad that Elon Musk is helping and making decisions, but like they didn't complain when Fauci and Soros were super involved in the left's decisions way back in the day. Let's be honest.
That's all I'm saying, man.
You know,
you got a guy like Fauci ahead
you
of
know,
the
I mean, let's be
Department of
honest
Human
here. That
Experimentation.
guy should be in jail, and they're not even doing. You know,
Yet.
it's crickets.
Yet.
Yeah, yet, but it's crickets when it comes to what the amount of atrocity is on those two. I mean,
Yes.
you have one that funded all of the riots, legitimately funded BLM and all of the riots
On
and
campuses
yes,
as well.
on campuses as well. And the other one who just said, "Oh, get vaccinated. Don't, you know, make sure you wear masks," and then comes out and actually admits, "Oh, the masks didn't work. I made it up."
Well,
And
okay.
you mean to tell me that people are frustrated that Elon Musk is involved in making decisions, but like I don't see any blood on his hands. I see a lot of corruption on the two people I mentioned prior to Elon Musk. So just a little interesting tidbit. But anyways, back to the smart people. These are your future Elon Musks. These are your 4.5 GPAs. Okay. These are the people that set the bar, probably almost have perfect ACT and SAT scores.
Absolutely.
Okay. They're legit. So in this thing we're talking about here, it's interesting that they are rejecting offers from Ivy League schools because of what? Woke, because of them realizing, hey, I'm going to get an education, not to be brainwashed.
Yes.
So now go ahead and take over.
Yeah, if you guys can put up that headline about the students that are high school students are getting accepted into
Yes.
Columbia University, which if you look at the acceptance rate, it is really low. I think it's even probably in the single digits for the acceptance rate to get into an Ivy League school like a Columbia University. I mean, you practically have to practically build a model aircraft and like land it on the moon as part of your as part of like, you know, the application to get into an Ivy League school. And it's this headline by the New York Post, which I love the New York Post because they're so like they just love to troll.
Yeah.
And they will also just be really facetious about some of these headlines. But it says high school seniors reject Columbia over campus chaos. Quote, I guess this is from one of the students that they interviewed. Why would you want to go there? Which that is crazy to think about because Columbia University is a prestigious university that has been around basically since the inception of the 13 colonies. And you've got these brainiac high school seniors that are like, yeah, I'm not going to that dumpster fire. Because Columbia University, if you look at them in the last 2 years with the whole Palestine-Israel thing and all of the stupid protests, just all kinds of craziness, that campus has literally been trashed.
You know how many presidents actually have gone to Columbia University?
How many?
Check this out. Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Barack Obama, all graduates from Columbia University.
I mean, it's
wild stat there for you.
So the quality of people that are coming through those doors and receiving, you know, diplomas and degrees, I mean, it's not a slouch. But you've got high school seniors that are like, no, thanks. I'd rather not get indoctrinated and brainwashed for 4 years. I'd rather go somewhere else. And if you also notice, Columbia University also just got $400 million of their grants revoked by
Yeah.
by the Trump administration because, again, you're getting this federal grant money, which is taxpayer dollars, which, by the way, I forgot to mention this. Under the Department of Education, most of their funding, so where they funnel their dollars, it goes to the Office of Financial Aid. The Office of Financial Aid plays a big part in people getting grants, loans, getting qualified for resources to be able to attend colleges and universities.
Yeah.
So when I looked at this, I was like, that's interesting that the Department of Education, most of their money funnels back to these places that give people the ability to go to school. But at the same time, the tuition rates are going through the sky.
Yeah. This is why.
So they're just making their money again.
In these
They
last
don't
like
care.
10 minutes we have here, I think this is something we need to discuss. So we need to talk then the solution on this. First of all, I think it's going to your school boards. I think it's standing up.
100%.
You have to, because if we're leaving it up to the states now, that doesn't mean we just hands off, don't do anything.
Correct.
We still have to go to the school boards.
We have to
We
go.
have to get involved in the
Yes.
community. We have to make sure that we are seeing this through from preschools up through the universities. Like, hands down, we have to 100% get involved. I mean, I think of the mom that showed up and legitimately was like, "You're not putting a litter box in my child's
Yeah,
classroom.
it's that
You're not
serious,
doing that."
right?
You know?
Yes. So you're absolutely right. The solution is getting involved in your child's life,
Yes.
right? I know a lot of times now, teachers can communicate with students via email, text message, which is where a lot of these teachers are getting in trouble.
Yep. Homeschooling is
Hey,
starting to boom again too, though.
yes, but parents that are maybe working and can't figure
Yeah.
that out, they aren't
Yeah.
able to make that work. Hey, you need to check your child's email on
Yep.
a regular basis. Check your child's phone, text
100%.
messages, because you need to know what is going on. I mean, one, who they're talking to, but
Yep.
especially those communications with teachers, don't take that for granted. You need to be involved in the classrooms. I remember my parents, dude, they would actually go through my backpack. Like every day I'd have to bring my backpack in front of them, like as a kid, and show them what was
Yep.
being brought home, what was being taught. So as parents, yes, I know we're busy, but you need to make 30 minutes to an hour each night to go through the homework with your child, go through what some of the assignments are. One of the questions I hated as a kid was my dad would always ask, so what went on today? But I realize now it was kind of a safety mechanism to figure out what are they telling you and what are they teaching you. Same thing applies. Have conversations with your kids. Also, make teach your children to not just follow the system, but think critically. You don't have to just go to college right away anymore to make money or to have a good career. There's a lot of different things that you can do, a lot of different avenues. So start planning with your child if they are older, asking them, what they think their purpose is. Why do they think college would be beneficial? What will they get out of it? Because that's going to help with a lot of these things. But also, man, we got to start voting in the right people.
100%.
You got to start coming to
Yes.
you got to start voting in your primary elections. Start getting in contact with your senators, your congressional people, your city council people, your mayors. I know a lot of people are like, I don't know who those people are. Well, figure it out. We've got Google. You can go and
Vote
find
for
out
the right people in the school
who
boards
your
too,
key
man.
decision makers are that have a hand in
Yes.
the education. Like you said, we can't just stop,
Yes.
even though this is going to be dismantled and this is going to go back to the states because this is a private family household
But
matter.
we need to be educated even on who's getting in with these school boards and different things in the universities and the
Yes.
high schools and all of it, elementary schools, like our school boards. We need to make sure that we are educating ourselves on who is getting these job titles.
Absolutely. And like you said, co-ops, homeschooling, that's a big thing now.
Yeah.
Our children are in
Yeah.
co-ops and,
Yeah.
and homeschool. We have a great program here at Lord of Hosts Church. Shout out to Zion Academy and Pastor Christy and the faculty with Pastor Mike and everybody that's running that. I mean, that's phenomenal. So even if there's an opportunity for that and you have the ability to help make that happen, do it. I think those
Yeah.
are great opportunities and avenues for kids to actually get educated in wholesome understanding that is biblically rooted.
I agree. And it's just time that, we make that stand, because if we don't and we be silent, then guess what? What we saw happen all those years that we just fought through will try to raise its ugly head again. Like I've always said this, there's always going to be other wars that you have to fight. You may win this certain battle or war, but other ones will come up. You cannot just stop being bold and be complacent. I hate complacency.
Right.
You cannot be complacent. We do not have time for complacency in this country. Like, it's got to stop. There's no time to be complacent. See, complacency is what the left wants you to do. Okay. Complacency is what the left wants. Because guess what complacency is? That's why they want the open borders. Oh, we bring in all these people that just want this fresh start and all of this. Tell them to be complacent. Tell them they don't have to work. We'll give them money and a roof over the head and all this stuff. Everything they want. As long as you fit the narrative and fit the system and agree to the deep state's plan and system. As long as you agree, we'll give you whatever you want. And man, that's not capitalism. That's not the American dream. That's not what America's about.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So now they're trying to infiltrate what the American dream is all about from the education on up. They're starting on the whole thing from abortion to the education system to sports to everything. That's why Trump put his hands in this and said, no, enough of this. Because, you know, it's funny you mentioned the thing about check your child's emails, text messages, etc. Man, you got to check everything now from like who's on their sports team.
It's true.
Who are they rooming with? Because legitimately, what did we see at San Jose State?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't even realize who their roommate was.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it all came out. So it was hidden by the university, first of all. Yeah. Hidden by a university, a Division I university. Hidden,
correct,
mind you. So legitimately, this is why, yeah, we have got to be involved. And if you get pushback, good, because you're ruffling feathers. You're calling them out.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing about a liar and an opportunist, man. Liars and opportunists, one thing about them, they try to lie. They try to, jump to the next opportunity. They mooch, etc. But the thing about it is all of those groups of people, they always do something. What do? They always leave a crumb behind.
It's true.
They always leave that crumb behind. And if you can find that crumb, if you can find that little piece that they left behind, you're golden, because now you can expose it. Now you can attack it. Now you can go after it.
Absolutely.
It's important to try to be 2 steps ahead, be 2 moves ahead. They want to play, checkers. We're going to be the ones playing chess. Just remember, they will always leave that crumb behind.
They will. I think as we close this out, at the end of the day, Matt, we've talked about this before. It comes down to, what goes on in the home. Dads, it's time. You've got a lot of mama bears out there. I would give a shout out to my wife, Shayna. She actually was the one that pushed for our daughter to be homeschooled. And, I watched her kind of do a lot of studying and looking at and a lot of research on it. And, she made a big push for that. And then it's crazy, too, because then you started seeing that movement in all different areas where, moms started taking a stand. But fellas, we got to have your voice. Yep. We need your voice. Yep. You cannot be absentee on this when it comes to your child's education, on your child's participation in academics. It is needed, and your voice has to be included in that as well. So, and if maybe you're a single parent, again, keep making that push to stay involved.
Yep.
Keep doing your due diligence. And, I believe, again, it starts with honoring the mother and the father. Mothers, fathers, this is your time now.
Yep.
The power, yes, is going back to the states, but it's ultimately going back to you.
That's good.
It's going back to the home and the household, and we've got to do our part.
Amen. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, thank you for tuning in with us here at Primetime Game Changers. I want to remind all of our viewers that you can like, comment, subscribe, follow us, check us out, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at Primetime Game Changers. Go to our website, primetimegamechangers.com. Go to our store, wear and rep the merchandise, store.primetimegamechangers.com. Hit the like, subscribe, the follow button, comment, share it, text it out, do whatever. And we want support on our podcast. So, whatever it is, whether it's the merch, whether it's the podcast, talk about it. Let people know about it. Go to pray.com and check us out. If you've come over from pray.com and saw us on there, and you're now checking us out on all these other pages in Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the family here with Game Changers. We're excited. We're going to be way out there in the community, outside of the four walls of churches, in the school systems, the universities. We were really happy to partner with UNO when they had the NCAA tournament, and to be able to, sponsor those guys and get behind them. It was their first time that Nebraska Omaha had ever made the NCAA tournament. So that was really a cool opportunity. And that's our passion. We want to get out into places and in the workplace, and really influence people on what their purpose is in life. What is your identity? And so there'll be more to actually come about that. We actually have a special guest coming the first week of May that will be on the podcast here in studio live, and then we'll be speaking in a live audience at Lord of Hosts Church that Friday night at 7 p.m. So we'll have more about that coming. But don't forget, next Friday, join us live. Blake Trinan, 2018 All-Star and two-time World Series champion, will be on the show with us this next Friday. We are so looking forward to it. You do not want to miss this episode. It is going to be awesome. And for him to come on game day too is incredible.
Wild,
like,
Shout
I
out to you,
really,
Blake.
really love that. Shout out to him. Yep. So they play the Phillies tonight, but then next week they're taking on the Chicago Cubs, who is my favorite baseball team. But yeah, he's going to be live on the show bright and early over there in LA at 9:30 his time. And he's like, I am ready for it, man. He's like, I'm going to join Game Changers and then head right to the baseball stadium after, and head to Dodger Stadium for the first pitch that night. So, yep. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this episode. So next week, mark your calendars, put it in your phone, make sure it buzzes your phone, whatever. And just, put some alert in your phone that says Game Changers live with Blake Trinan. I got to watch right now. So, yeah, but it's going to be a great episode. We're really excited for it. And please tune in. But until then, we'll talk to you later. Change the game in your city and in the education systems.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time on Primetime Game Changers. Bye-bye.